was recently reading a book called The Citadel of God, and it's a historical fiction about the life of Saint Benedict. And about halfway through the book, and it was a book I was enjoying thoroughly, I began to wonder about the author. His name is Louis de Waal, and there's just some things that he wrote in the book that I found to be very beautiful and very insightful, that clearly revealed that he was a man of faith, and he had some, it seemed, some fairly deep spiritual insights. So halfway through the book, I actually stopped reading the book, and I started reading about the author. I Googled him, and I read a few different articles on him, just because I became curious to know more about the author, because something in the book revealed something of him. We see this in all art, whether it is in literature or in a painting or in a statue, that there's something of the author or the artist or the creator left within it. It's almost like their fingerprint is in it, and we can learn something of them by examining closely the art. Well, that's true in the world, of course. The God who is the artist of all, who is the creator, that he left his, you could say, his fingerprints or his vestige, which really just means his footprints are here. And everything that exists has something in it that reveals God. And what it has in it is truth, goodness, and beauty. Everything that exists is in some way true, good, and beautiful. And therefore, since God is truth, goodness, and beauty itself, everything that exists reflects something of God. And so when we are aware of the truth, goodness, and beauty in created things, those can draw us into the mystery of God. So we call these things the truth, goodness, and beauty. We call them the Transcendentals. And the Transcendentals are actually a key for evangelizing. They really can be a tool. Because if we see truth, goodness, and beauty in things, and those things help to lead us to God, that means those things can be an instrument in evangelization. But what I've noticed is that some people seem to be more sensitive to one of the Transcendentals or to the other. There's some people that they perceive truth almost intuitively, but goodness and beauty not so much. Or other people that it's goodness, or other people that it's beauty. So I'd just like to take a couple of minutes and walk through how we can actually use this model, these Transcendentals, for the work of evangelization. So the first of the three that I've been mentioning is truth. People that primarily see truth, these tend to be sort of mind people, thinking people. It's not that they're necessarily really smart, but they approach reality, they approach nature, they approach challenges, situations, even relationships, very much in an intellectual way, by kind of processing things rationally. These types of people, they want to know if Christianity is true. Did Jesus really found the church? Are the scriptures really inspired by God? Is God really three persons in one God? They want to know, is this true or not? Because they want to live in accord with what is true. And so in evangelizing people that are T's, it's really books and magazines or articles or CDs or DVDs that are, or even websites that are really great for them, because they really want the meat. I was actually just reading a book this past weekend by a priest who's been very effective in evangelizing people. And it's interesting because most of the people that were coming to him were T's, were people that were very intelligent, they were professionals, very successful in their careers, but they wanted to know, was the Catholic Church true or not? And so he would often give them good books to read that were historical or theological, or they were testimonies. They would help them to see and discover the truth they were looking for, and that therefore pointed them towards God, who is truth itself. The second of the Transcendentals is goodness. And there's a lot of people out today that are looking for goodness. They're looking for, often the word is authenticity. They want to see the Christian life incarnated in us. You often hear of people who have left the Catholic Church that, maybe became evangelicals, and they say things like, oh, I didn't feel like I belonged, or there was no sense of community, or, it wasn't very welcoming, or there wasn't great fellowship. Sometimes people think, well, what does it matter? Like we have the Eucharist, and we have the saints, and we have the fullness of the tradition. And yet, people are looking for those things, but people that are G's, they're looking for all of that richness, all of that truth to be incarnated in the life of Christians. And so this is more than just having people at the back of our churches shaking hands to welcome people. This is creating communities, parishes, environments where people are authentically loved, where there's a genuine sharing between individuals, where there's a sense of Christians working together to grow in the faith. It really means creating a place where people can feel like they're at home in the church, in their parishes, and in their local communities. This is a tremendous opportunity because there are so many G's that are looking for this. Many of our parishes are often lacking in a real sense of community. There may be a parish potluck or a picnic once a year, but most new people that come to the parish don't feel like this is my home. But we can create that. And when we create that, G's are very much attracted to that. And it's not just that they're looking for superficiality. They're looking for something very authentic. It's not truth per se, it's truth incarnate. The third group are B's. These are people that are looking for beauty. And beauty for them communicates God. We can find beauty in nature, we can find it in music, we can find it primarily in the liturgy, of course. This has been one of the challenges of the last several decades with the changes that we've seen in the liturgy and the way that liturgy is often celebrated. It's sometimes not as beautiful as it could be, or it doesn't really capture people's hearts and imaginations. If we want people that are B's to really be able to experience God through that transcendental, it's important that we have beautiful communities, that our churches be beautiful, that our music be beautiful, that our vestments be beautiful, that our altar be beautiful, that our statues be beautiful. Bishop Barron, who many of you would be familiar with from the Catholicism series, he actually thinks that in our postmodern culture, beauty is the primary path that most people take. Beauty, in some ways, it goes past the intellect. There's less kind of intentional processing of it. It just speaks to us. This is why you can hear a beautiful piece of music with no lyrics, just a beautiful piece of classical music, for example. And it can move you. It can change your heart. People weep when they hear really beautiful music. That's beauty. Reflecting God, who is beauty itself, communicating directly with the soul. And there, again, like with truth, like with goodness, there's a tremendous opportunity. An opportunity to speak the language that people speak. Now, I want to just make one qualification. It's not that people don't perceive all three of those. It's just that we kind of seem to be in tune with one more than the other. And the challenge is often that whatever one we're in tune with, that's the one that we think everybody should be in tune with. So for a person that's a T, their solution to every evangelical challenge is to provide great books for people. Well, that's good if you're meeting a person who is looking for truth, really wants to know what's true. But if you meet a B and you're just giving them good books, those books will often sit on the shelf. They need to see how God's beauty is mediated through the things of this world, through the treasures of the church, maybe through the lives of the saints, maybe through our architecture or our liturgy. Truth, goodness, and beauty are God's fingerprints. The more that we allow people to see, to feel, to hear His fingerprints, the more we are inviting people to encounter God Himself.